culture of leadership, of ownership, of progress belongs to the artists. How do I know this? Well, it says so on my website, actually, up the top. It's in bold, and it says so up there as well, so that's twice. Must be true, right? Well, that concludes my presentation for today. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you all inject your leadership artistry right across your organisations. Thank you. I've been Mykel Dixon. I'll see you next time.
That's great.
Crown, Jesus. Oh, okay. All right. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if I did that? If I followed through with that? How awesomely awkward would that be? How uncomfortable. The tension. I know a lot of us would be wildly underwhelmed with my contribution here today. I'm pretty sure Pete'd give me a stern talking to out the back. High percentage I wouldn't get invited back next year or ever again, but there's something kind of cool about that tension, that ambiguity, that uncomfortable space that we tend to avoid a lot in life, particularly in work, right? But it's something as leaders we're going to need to get a whole lot more comfortable with, because where we're heading, we're going to experience a whole lot more of that. It's uncomfortable space. There's one particular realm, though, that's very, very, very comfortable with being uncomfortable. Very at home with the unknown. Thrives in the ambiguity, finding meaning in the complexity. It's a realm that's largely been overlooked by the world of business, but it might be time for us to peer in, peel it apart, have a closer look, glean the insights. Does anyone know what kind of realm I'm talking about? Art. The arts, absolutely. I'm here to talk about the arts. We've hit the end of the conference. It's time for the fluffy stuff. Our heads are full. I do hope, though, by the end of our time together, we'll all agree that the fluffy stuff might carry a little more weight than we realise. I think Lynn might have touched on this earlier today. The World Economic Forum last year placed creativity as the 10th most important skill for business leaders globally, right around the world. More interestingly, though, by 2020, creativity jumps to number 3 on that list. For someone like me, spent their life in the arts, entertainment sector, this is like watching your favourite sporting team who's been bringing home the wooden spoon for decades suddenly make the finals. It's a good time. But it totally shouldn't be just a good time for me. This is a good time for everyone. Because finally, at last, it's not just a nice to have. Creativity is not just okay, it's not accepted, allowed to do between 3 and 5 on the weekend with the kids. It is absolutely imperative we as leaders step into, own and express the artists we were born to be. I totally just called every one of you an artist. Are you cool with that? Yeah? Some of you might not be cool with that. Potentially 3/4 of the room. A couple of years ago, Adobe did a study called State of Create, and they found that 75% of us feel as though we're not living up to our creative potential. But 80% of us feel as though we're increasingly being asked to be more creative in our role. So there's a clear gap, isn't there, between what we know we need and who we think we are. And this is legit. This is completely natural. It's perfect that we would feel this way. All of us were born into an industrialized world that favored productivity and efficiency over possibility and elegance. Culturally, the last couple of hundred years, we've favoured the world of science, logic, and reason as a means for progress, as opposed to art, emotion, and intuition. We just walk into a storm? How's that? It just got moody. Patrick! Yeah. I'm still in it. I'm still in this thing, man. We gotta go Alpine style, man. For to make it out alive. Science, logic, reason versus art, emotion, intuition. I'm not trying to get into an art versus science war. They are two sides of the same coin. It was Einstein himself who said, if what is experienced is expressed through the lens of logic and reason, we call that science. If that same thing being experienced is expressed through the realm of emotion and intuition, we call that art. Two sides of the same coin. Two people look at the sun, one writes a paper on it, the other one writes a song about it. We need both. Given where we're heading, it might be time for us to swing this pendulum back a little more into the center, just so that we have a wider palette to draw on when facing these volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous challenges. So that's what I'm here to do today. I'm here to represent, I'm here to speak to, I'm here to liberate the artist in you. I want to make one thing clear. I'm not talking about watercolor. I'm not talking about digging out that old guitar, busting out some Beatles songs. I'm not saying we should all head into the Dandenongs, paint our faces, get naked, dance around a campfire. Totally am saying that, by the way. You don't have to make art to be an artist. What I'm talking about today is art as an attitude, as a mindset, as an approach, a way to view what you're already dealing with, what you're already working on, your leadership, through the lens of art, so that you can not just better lead your organization into this uncertain future, but better ensure your own relevance and value as leaders in an increasingly volatile and highly competitive job market. Sound good? So the first thing we need to do is, if we just go, can everyone do that? There was no point to that at all. First lens we want to look through. Art has no answers. Art is an eternal inquiry. How many David Bowie fans do we have in the audience? Hands up. Hands up. Every hand should have gone up then. He's watching us right now. What a remarkable example of leadership. What a remarkable man. When he passed tragically earlier this year, I found myself lost in YouTube videos for weeks, just immersed in his magnificence. And I came across one interview, and the interviewer asked David, what do you see as the difference between artists and non-artists? And he said, I don't think there is one. Much cooler than that. I don't buy into this idea that artists are somehow different than the rest of us, that they're tuned into some higher power, that they have some unique gift or talent, a way of seeing the world. I just think that they sit with things longer. They sit in the inquiry longer than the rest of us, which affords them what we perceive to be highly original thought. But as leaders, we've got to have the answers, right? Our team, our clients, our cause depends on the answers. Steve, I'm going to need an answer for this by close of business today. If we're going to move forward on this, Tracy, I'm going to need an answer from you. Answers. But answers are an ending, aren't they? They're a full stop, a finale. Whereas a question is an invitation. A question is generative, it's contribution-centric. It inspires new thought and invites participation. Maybe as we're heading into this unknown territory, to instill more ownership in our people, to drive more meaningful progress. Maybe just giving them answers isn't the answer. Maybe what's required is to ask of them, ask of ourselves and our organisation a bigger, more beautiful question. We could do this right now. We could apply this lens. How many people have an abundance of time? Hands up. Exactly. Well, yeah, a couple. Recently retired or redundant. No one has any time. We're all time poor. We're all information overload. Instead of looking for an answer to solving that problem of our lack of time, what about if we sat with that and asked ourselves a bigger, more beautiful question that might transform our relationship to time? Does that make sense? Just take a minute to do that. Just kick back, sink in to you, and I'll give you some thinking music. Do you need some more time? Okay. It's time to look through the round window, children. Bigger, more beautiful question. If artists aren't looking for an answer, what are they looking for? Damn it. Many people believe that artists are looking for beauty. They're looking to capture or recreate the perfection in a landscape or a lyric or a sequence of dance moves. But beauty is just a byproduct. Beauty is just one possible outcome on the way to what they're really seeking, what an artist is really seeking, what they want to get close to, what they want to become. Is the truth. It's the truth. The organic, unfiltered, raw, authentic essence of an experience or a human or a memory. That truth is what speaks to us. It's what calls to us. We've heard a bunch of it here today. Truth just cuts through. How many people in this room know of a man called David Whyte? He's a poet. Hands up. Yeah, cool. There's a few. W-H-Y-T-E. You should all check him out. I think he's the greatest living poet. That's just my opinion. But I'm a super fan. Irish-American guy. He's brought the power and majesty of poetry to the corporate space for the last 20 years. And I was lucky enough to tour with him up and down the East Coast earlier this year. And he is quintessential poet guy with the funky boots and the waistcoat. Always seemed to have a glass of Pinot. And he swaggered. And when he wasn't flirting with girls, he was painting shapes with this language that is just stunning to be around. He calls good poetry language to which we have no defenses. Language to which we have no defenses. He doesn't call good poetry language which is grammatically correct, presents a thought-provoking ideal in an aesthetically pleasing manner. Language to which we have no defenses. So you don't have to know how to write good poetry to write good poetry if you're writing from your truth. You don't have to know how to be a great leader. To be a great leader, if you're standing in, if you're speaking for, if you're speaking to what is true for you, the raw, organic essence of the moment. We see this increasing preference for authenticity over authority all the time. Rhiannon, I'm sure, was speaking about that today. The millennials, it's their currency, man. They're not looking for a boss, they want a best friend. We see this all the time online. It's amazing. A company will spend $250,000 on a commercial. They'll have the art director and the makeup artist and the set designer, and they'll commission this incredible musician to write this amazing piece, and the whole thing will be this elegant, gorgeous content that just, And yet, it's a 16-year-old kid who records himself with his iPhone in his bedroom playing an out-of-tune guitar that goes viral. It's the mummy blogger who takes an unfiltered photo of herself and posts it at 4 a.m., sharing courageously of the disconnect she feels with her newborn and the terror she has of never finding it, that speaks to the heart of every mother around the world. That truth, as leaders in the future, we just got to be that. You got to remember, sharing your unfinished self is the way forward. Your imperfection is your advantage. Just be all of you all of the time, like an artist. The third lens that I want to look through is to borrow a phrase from Miles Davis. There are no wrong notes. How many people know who Miles Davis is? Keep your hand up if you love jazz. Where my peeps at? Oh, a couple of hands went down. That's cool. Like it or loathe it, jazz is such a treasure trove of insight for the modern world of work. I do full-day programs just on jazz leadership alone. Innovation, improvisation, collaboration, any word that ends in ation, you can find it in jazz, believe me. But I want to play you a snippet of an interview of a guy by the name of Herbie Hancock. Now, he served as Miles's piano player for many years, and he has some very insightful things to say, so hopefully the volume on this is correct. You just kick back, just enjoy a little Herbie on Miles.
And I remember that we were playing So What? And it was a really hot night. The music was on. Right in the middle of Miles' solo, when he was playing one of his amazing solos, I played the wrong chord. Completely wrong. It sounded like a big mistake. And Miles paused for a second. And then he played some notes that made my chord right. He made it correct. Miles didn't hear it as a mistake. He heard it as something that happened, just an event. And so that was part of the reality of what was happening at that moment. And he dealt with it. Since he didn't hear it as a mistake, he felt it was his responsibility to find something that fit. That taught me a very big lesson about not only music, but about life.
Big lesson in that about leadership too, right? Miles didn't see Herbie's mistake as a mistake. He just saw it as something that happened. And as such, could take responsibility for it and turn his mistake into a melody. I want to give you a live example of what I'm talking about. So if we pick a song, this happens all the time in jazz, man. This happened last Thursday night, actually. I did a gig with a bass player, and the bass player I was supposed to be playing with didn't show, calls me on the way to the gig and says, "Oh man, I can't make it, I've got another guy." So I met him on the gig, and you can have an idea for how a song might sound. And it just never turns out that way. So let's pick a song everyone knows. You can maybe hit some reverb on the vocal just to make me sound better than I really am. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a place that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Even a touch more would be great. Now, if I was to show up on a gig with a bunch of jazz guys, it just wouldn't sound like that. It would not sound like that. The moment that we start playing, the bass player's throwing alternate notes at me, the guitarist is playing chord substitutions, the whole thing is a sweaty, hot mess of chaos. And if I'm not prepared to dance with that, if I'm not prepared to jump on what's happening, then the whole thing comes to a halt. There's no forward motion, there's no progress. You can bet I'm not going to get any more gigs as a musician. This might be what it sounded like as at a jazz gig. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, There's a place that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Yeah. Or if there was a second night, we do it again. Be different again. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a place that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Is it a three-night residency? It's 3 gigs in a row is what I meant. I'm asking you. You say, no, that's terrible, stop. Or you say, yeah, I want to hear one more. Okay. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a place that I've heard of once in a lullaby. Different every time. The key to that kind of poorly... honestly, I apologize for that. That was actually... whatever. It's jazz. We got to be willing to dance with what's emerging. You can have a project, you can have an idea, you can have a whole company. And the moment that you take it to your team, the moment that you take it to market, everything goes out the window. Leadership is embracing whatever emerges. Seeing whatever's happening as just stuff that's happening. You want to be the kind of leader that embraces it, that takes it on, takes ownership of it, and turns mistakes into melodies. Wait a minute. Can you hear that? It's the bar, isn't it? It's the bar. I can hear it. I can see it in your faces. I'm going to quickly recap on those 3 things, and then I'm going to let you fulfill this desire of yours that I see is starting to emerge. So the first artistic lens that we looked through was art has no answers. As leaders, we have to remain in the eternal inquiry. Now, to do this, you got to make some room for space. You have to sink beneath the surface of a quick or easy solution and continually ask yourself, your people, your whole organization, a bigger, more beautiful question. The second lens we looked through was to seek truth before beauty. Be willing to stand in, to speak for what is true for you in that moment. The raw, organic, authentic essence of who you are. Because in the future of leadership, your imperfection will be your advantage. And the last style of leadership we just touched on was the jazz style of leadership. Miles Davis, there are no wrong notes. We've got to be the kind of leader that is prepared to dance with what's emerging, to roll with whatever our people are throwing at us. Just see it as stuff that happened, take responsibility for it, and turn mistakes into melodies. Now, it would be wildly incongruent of me not to finish with some kind of artistic expression, am I right? Harping on about it. So, normally at the end of something like this, I would be in the room up the back, taking notes of all the other speakers and their day. I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't here for a large part of today. I was in Traralgon, and my 39-and-a-half-week pregnant wifey, Kate, sitting down there, was driving me. And as we walked in, she was like, I don't know, I'm not feeling, something's different. I'm like, whoa. Just hold that for a minute. 20 minutes. But in the car on the way back, I was watching the Twitter feed of all you guys here today, and I got to see Ali's cartwheel. I got to see everybody having a good time. So I kind of thought I'd put something together based on that and based on what I know of these gorgeous people, these wonderful speakers. World don't make no sense anymore. Need a map to find my way home. I need a key, a light so that I can see. Thankfully, I have Lynn Cazelli, yeah, and all of her sense making. Giovanni spoke of living passionately, but she made us promise we can only choose 3, yeah. Representing the generation, the millennial, Rhiannon made it clear. The kid's gonna take the wheel from here, and Darren Hill, he made us feel that there's another shade to own a ship. The being careful means having care for all. Maybe love is the light of leadership, yeah, but Peter Baines told us that we can change the world. Peter Baines, yeah, showed us that we could change the world. Oh, Peter. Patty warned us of the VUCA world outside. If we're to make it through, we better make it Alpine style. And Trisha cut a bunch of holes in our chest, yeah. But inside them she planted seeds of yes, 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 yes. And Allie Hill, so eloquently, she held the space for each and every one of us. But I'm left asking how a man like Darren, for her would ever be enough. Oh, but Peter Baines told us that we could change the world. And Peter Baines, yeah, showed us that we could change the world. Don't forget the Pirate King, the man who speaks of brazen pioneering, with a face of fire and a nerve of steel. He makes the intangible real through science, science, whoa, science. But don't forget to make some art through science, whoa, science. But don't forget to make some art through science and art. We have a start to make our leadership last, yeah. But Peter Baines told us that we could change the world. Sing it, come on, you know the words. And Peter Baines, yeah, showed us that we could change the world. I want to see more from you guys. Peter Baines, you told us that we could change the world. Come on, it's the end of the day, man. And Peter Baines, yeah, showed us that we could change the world. Thank you so much, Peter, for having us. You're a remarkable man to put on all of this stuff, to give so much of yourself and give us the opportunity that we can contribute in some small way to such a magnificent cause. Really, thank you to that. Can we make some serious noise for Peter Baines, everybody? Come on. More than that! More than that! Big hand to Ali for holding the space for us, to all the other speakers and everyone behind the scenes. Come on, make some noise for them too. Even more noise! Oh my God! Wow! Now really, the most noise you got to make is for you guys for coming out. You took a day off work, you spent your hard-earned money, not just to support this cause in Thailand, but to support your people, to better yourselves, to learn how to be all that you can be. So make some stupid noise for you guys. Come on, do it. Ow! Hey! You want to get really cheesy with me? Let's just sing this out. Let's embarrass the hell out of this guy. Come on. Hey, Peter Baines told us that we could change the world. Come on, sing it, yeah. Peter Baines, yeah, showed us that we could change the world. Peter Baines told us that we could change the world. Peter Baines showed us that we could change the world. Let's hit the bar, guys. Come on.